What's up, guys? Long time no see. It's been a minute since I've made a video, and I apologize about that. But like I said before, I'm a salary cuck, so what can I do? I have to freaking work hard. I got a wife, 3 children, so there's some priorities to be had. But I want to preface this video real quick with saying, admittedly, I am a newer Nick Fuentes fan. I'd say maybe I've been watching him for a month, give or take, though I've known about him for quite some time now. He's shilled all over 4chan, or at least he was, and I always ignored it. I always thought he was just some alt-light, character that was just regurgitating the same alt-light points. But like I said before, I saw that video of him getting kicked out of that conference. I think it was CPAC or one of those IO packs, I don't know, where he basically, I believe he gave like a speech in his hotel room or some kind of lobby or something, because he got kicked out, and he speaking out against the Zionist lobbies. And I'm like, wait, this guy's on something. Been following him ever since. Been a premium subscriber for about the last month, I'd say. So, and I like Nick a lot. And with this whole Owen Benjamin versus Nick Fuentes debacle, for the most part, I had Nick's back. I supported him, even though I still do like Owen a lot. But and just to say, like, Nick was gone on vacation. I still don't know where he was, and I don't know if he's even mentioned that. But and maybe he's regurgitated these lines before, but ever since he got back, it just seems he has this pro-war agenda. And maybe I'm a bit misguided, or maybe Nick is just a bit misguided. It's the first time I've ever heard him say it. So he was gone on this vacation, and just to kind of tell you how much I like him, I was like, man, he's on vacation. I'm not gonna be able to listen to him for a few weeks. This stinks. I always looked forward to listening to him because he's one of the more authentic mouthpieces out there. So I get home from work today. I'm taking my shower, and usually when I'm in the shower, I'll have a YouTube video on. And today was no exception. I had Nick Fuentes playing in the background. So here I am showering, and this is what I start to hear, and I couldn't believe it. It was just getting worse and worse and worse. And admittedly, I only listened to it once. Maybe I'm overblowing things. We're about to find out. So I just want to give you the perspective, not to gloat about it, not to showboat, but I'm a former Marine. I served in Afghanistan back in 2010. The biggest offensive ever, the Spring Offensive 2010 in the Helmand Province, Marja, Afghanistan. Look it up. My unit was there. Phone. Sorry about that. My microphone. Whatever. So I've seen what war does, and not saying I'm smarter than Nick. I'd actually argue that he's probably smarter than me. Not saying I know more or I'm looking down on him. This is just my perspective as a combat veteran who's seen the destruction and chaos of what that war brings with it. I know I do remember when I was that young, I remembered having this same kind of, well, this is before I was red pilled, honestly. So I don't know if I would have felt the same way I did, but yeah. So here's my problem. Nick just seems. Am I wrong in thinking this? Did that not seem like a really pro-war stream? So I'm gonna react to this. This is gonna be my second time watching this. I found the general, um, uh, whatever they call it, freaking hash mark, time mark, or I forget. It isn't coming to me what this time. Why can't I think of this? Whatever. I found that generally where it started, so I'm going to react to this as we go. So here we go.
So that's Bob Mueller. Next, I'm done with that. I've used that up. I'm finished with it.
Nick's beard looks awesome, by the way.
North Korea story.
Super awesome. He looks
so
great
again,
with the beard.
This is very new. This happened like right before the show started. So we don't really have too many details. We don't have a response from America yet, but this is from Reuters. It says, quote, North Korea has fired 2 unidentified projectiles into the sea off its east coast, South Korean defense officials said Thursday. The projectiles flew about 267 miles from an area near the eastern city of Wonsan, South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said, adding that the South Korean and U.S. militaries were analyzing details of the launches. North Korea said last week it may lift its 20-month suspension of nuclear and missile tests to protest expected military drills between the U.S. and South Korea that Pyongyang says are an invasion rehearsal. And, I see this missile launch, and the reason I'm talking about this tonight as opposed to tomorrow is
an invasion rehearsal. I would say that's a pretty accurate assessment on exactly what that is. I don't know if you guys are familiar with war games, especially war games that are so close to a country you're supposedly trying to mend relationships with. This is I don't know how you could see that this isn't an issue. You have someone like Trump saying he wants to make peace with North Korea, but of course under his terms. Well, maybe his administration's terms, at least. Who knows how much say Trump even has on any of this. So, well, let's just keep watching just a little bit, actually.
Because it really reminds me of what I was saying yesterday about the situation in Iran. There's this...
Okay, so yeah, of course, we'll be talking about Iran too. But it was a pretty awesome face I just paused it on. For Nick's sake, let me... That doesn't...
Big myth, which I think...
There, that looks a little bit better. So, but yeah, war games, they are simulating an invasion of North Korea. Okay? Am I failing, or is Nick failing to just see the context of the whole situation? It's a simulation. Just, you could think of this in the most simplest terms. Someone outside your door with a mask, a bag for the goodies, and a weapon, simulating breaking into your home.
Is very pervasive in the dissident right, maybe thanks to Ron Paul, maybe thanks to a lot of these anti-war sort of isolationist strains of thinking or punditry on the right. That
isolationist, come on, that is such a neocon buzzword. Isolationist. How about constitutionalist? How about that? How about man, I'm serious. It's just such a buzzword. I hate hearing isolationist.
That all these other guys in the world, like North Korea, Iran, Russia, are just sort of like these hapless victims. They're either hapless victims of American imperialism, or they're these righteous actors. They're very righteous.
Victims, I would definitely say that's a pretty good term for it. I mean, look at the what we've done to the Middle East. I mean, look what we've done to Korea. Our foreign policy has destroyed Libya. It's destroyed Afghanistan. It's destroyed Iraq. And I'm going to keep bringing it back to my experience. I think that's fair. But just to see the absolute destruction and chaos that there was in Afghanistan and still is to this day with my own eyes, it really put me in perspective. I was actually pretty blue-pilled until the middle of my deployment. That's when I started realizing that it was all, well, a lie, I guess, to put it kindly. So, and it's not even always our direct foreign policy. It's by proxy, whether it's through Saudi Arabia causing the huge famine and just that crazy crisis that's going on in Yemen that a lot of people don't choose to talk about. But yeah, hapless victims, I would say, is a very, 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 very good word to use. It's a correct term. So, okay.
Standing up against the great Satan, standing up against the, gay disco that is America. And there is a
That's
little
another
bit of
good
truth
term.
in the sense that America pushes people
Yeah.
around. There's truth in that America.
Talk about putting it lightly. Pushing around. More like controlling your everything. Controlling your imports, controlling your exports, controlling your military, controlling literally everything.
Pushes people around towards a pernicious agenda, which may or may not be satanic or gay or whatever.
Very satanic.
But time and again, I hear this take that, well, we should really be supporting like the Maduro regime, or we should really be supporting Iran, or we should unironically be embracing Juche in North Korea. And then we see episodes like this, where I look at what happens with North Korea, and it's like this president gets into office saying we don't want war, we want to scale back our military commitments, and inspire.
You know what else Trump said? He also said he was going to build a big, beautiful wall. And he also said Mexico was going to pay for it. He also said he's going to repeal and replace Obamacare. I'm sitting here right now thinking if he has made good on any of his campaign promises, other than getting out of the deal with Iran, nothing's coming to my head right now. So Trump says a lot, doesn't he? Weren't you just yesterday talking about the black pill on immigration? Where not even like a full mile or 2 miles have been built of actual new fencing, not a wall. Trump, during his campaign, was very clear. It was very clear that he knew the differences and the nuances between a wall and a fence. I don't even think a foot of a brand new wall has been built, but I digress.
To that, the first few months he gets into office in North Korea is doing missile tests, nuclear tests, things that are designed to antagonize America. We go through this year of brinksman.
Antagonizing America. That's rich, man. That's real. I just want to know, and I would love to ask Nick and his audience, who, I feel like I'm a part of the community. And again, this isn't an attack on Nick. I'm just trying to understand his headspace, just to see if he's misguided, or maybe I'm misguiding and I'm reading in between the lines too much, and he's just young, dumb, and full of enthusiasm, as I was when I was that age. But the upper hand he has over me when I was his age is I was completely blue pilled. So that's what I'm just trying to gauge right now. Okay, let's just keep going.
It's bellicose rhetoric. There's warmongering on both sides. There's carrier strike groups moving into the Sea of Japan. We're at DEFCON 3 and all this. And then finally we get to a point where the president goes all the way to Singapore and meets with the North Korean president. He gets criticized by the media. It's unprecedented. It's a huge step. We scale back the military drills. We scale back a lot of other things. We make a promise. We say if you denuclearize, then we're going to help you out. And here we are like a year later. There's no progress. We're still getting these missile drills. They're not committing to taking anything down. And, it kind of says something about the nature of foreign affairs. When a lot of people...
Who are we to determine who could have nuclear weapons and nuclear energy? Who are we to tell? It's their own country. It's not constitutionally sound to restrict another country who hasn't done jack diddly squat to American citizens and ever, including the Korean War. That was pure American aggression. I would just beg to ask, what has North Korea done exactly that has hurt our economy, that has hurt and maimed or killed American citizens? I would like to know.
people get on Trump's case
Maybe I'm
about
missing something.
Iran or about Russia or even, frankly, about Syria. And they say, why haven't we pulled out? Why haven't we backed away from some of these confrontations?
Yeah, like those confrontations that Trump said he was completely against and that he was going to bring our troops home. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. He said he was against the war in Iraq and he wanted to bring our troops in. He's against regime change. Granted, regime change hasn't happened with, at least for Assad, but they've definitely attempted a military coup in Venezuela. So, point being, I don't know what the point I'm making right now is. I'm trying not to go on any tangents right now, but it's kind of hard. I don't want to make this video too long. It seems like it's already going 15 minutes, so let's just keep going.
Why have we normalized relations with Russia? You have to understand these other countries, these are not saints that we're dealing with. These are not sheep that we are dealing with. These are not pacifists who just want to get by, who just want to, live their own life and have their own culture and all this. I mean, in a lot of...
I would beg to differ. How has North Korea or Iran tried to impose their will on our country and on our people? Again, maybe I'm missing something. It's a strong possibility. What am I missing? When has Iran? And I'm asking legitimately because maybe there is something. I'm also making this video so I could learn more. When has Iran or North Korea directly engaged in physical contact with the United States of America?
Cases, these countries, the people that run them, are legitimately opposed to our interests. And
What interests? Israel's interests? Because you do know our nation's been subverted. We're basically a host for a bacteria at this point. I don't even think... I mean, we might have a voice as the woke people, the red-pilled nation, but the interests that are implicated right now across the world, those aren't our interests. So I would also like to ask, what interests?
Legitimately do antagonize America. And of course, the retort always is, well, America did it first, right? America deserves to get antagonized.
Absolutely 100% correct statement.
By Russia because NATO has expanded east, or America deserves to get antagonized by Iran because we have a small presence in Afghanistan and Iraq, or we deserve to be antagonized by North Korea because we have troops in South Korea. And I guess
a small presence in Iraq? Maybe now.
There is truth in both sides, but you have to understand it takes two to tango. So, I see
Absolutely.
this stuff with North Korea, and it very much reminds me of what's happening with Iran and what I said about Iran yesterday. Our president has made a not insignificant overture to the president of Iran or to the supreme leader of North Korea in saying, we want to make a deal. We want to make peace. We do not...
Kind of like the omnibus bill deal that he signed when he said he would never sign something like that. Kind of like how he said he would negotiate a wall. Like that.
Want war. I think he said that explicitly a number of times. And yet
he also said, we want a wall. How can you see that he's dropped the ball so hard on the wall and still believe the bullshit that he spews out of his mouth?
In spite of that, we get drones that are shot down. There's all kinds...
Yes, it was in Iranian territory. It was unmanned.
Of other conspicuous things going on. Tankers are being seized. And so you have to remember when dealing with these people, like, these are not great actors as well. I mean, maybe we're not saints, but they definitely are not either. So I see something like this, and I start to get a little impatient. The president went over to North Korea. He was the first sitting president to step...
He's also went down to the southern border. He's toured it in California, Arizona, Texas. He's also been down there.
Been to North Korea not too long ago, a few weeks ago. That was a spontaneous visit. It kickstarted a new round of negotiations. They were planning on doing another summit. The president said North Korea, or rather Kim Jong-un, could come to the White House. And now we're getting missile tests again. Now they're saying they're going to do nuclear tests.
Because they're having war games in North Korea's backyard. Once again, I want to make an analogy. It's like someone that you could see outside your front window staging a robbery or a home invasion, okay? You're going to, if you're inside your house, you see someone planning a robbery, you're going to cock your shotgun, you're going to pump that damn thing. It's a completely normal reaction. I just don't, because like I said, I think Nick is an incredibly smart, incredibly talented. He's like one of the best speakers I've ever listened to. I was listening today, just like, is there anybody online right now that could make points and string together a bunch of smart sounding sentences and just always just, I don't know, he's just got that gift of the gab. So, but how is he failing to see how dangerous war games are, when especially when you're claiming you want peace?
And missile tests again. I'm starting to think one of these countries just has to be wiped off the map. I hate to say it. We don't have to invade. We don't have to invade. You know, people say, we want Iraq 2.0. How about Japan 2.0? Right? How about we just vaporize a city or something? I just get so sick and tired of seeing America.
I'm sure he's saying this in jest, but you got to be careful with saying things like this. And I don't think I'm alone when I say it. From a combat veteran's perspective, the absolute devastation on the human body that war commits on a daily basis, it's more gruesome than you could possibly even imagine. Seeing it in real life, I almost don't like bringing it up, but just even suggesting vaporizing a city, which logistically I think it wouldn't be that easy, but just the children that are left without parents, the children who are already in countries that are sanctioned and it's hard to get medicine and medical supplies into, and I saw this a lot. Like, for instance, like, you know, shrapnel and, you know, all kinds of things would happen to children during firefights and bombings and drone strikes, where the children would survive. And a lot of time they did. But they're gushing blood from their head, their arms blown off, they're crying, you're trying to console them. Their parents are dead. It's just not something you should throw around so lightly. You sound like a neocon, like you honestly, you sound like a Zionist little bitch, dude. And I say that with all due respect. That's not something you should just go around saying, especially when you have a platform like this. Because at this point, if you were to take this section right here, this short little section where he talks about this, and you dubbed Ben Shapiro's voice over it, it would have been completely acceptable. He sounds like Ben Shapiro right now. And I would like to ask Nick, will you be signing up for this? Will you be putting your name on the dotted line, signing away all your freedoms to go take place to see this happen?
I know this might sound, I know I'm going to catch a lot of heat on this.
Yes, and he knows he sounds like a Neocon, He sounds like Ben Shapiro, okay? He knows it.
In the comments and on Twitter, that's okay. I will take it. right? I will take the slings and arrows because I just have to say this. But and it may sound boomerish or neoconish, but
Very much
I see
so.
these, come on, these people in Iran, these people in North Korea, and they're doing these missile tests. They're not doing what they're told. They're not fitting into our world.
Why should they? Why? I keep pausing it on like the most amazing moments. But why should they? When has America ever, besides with Israel, when has the United States ever made good on any of their promises? The last time we had anything positive going was the deal we had with Iran that Trump nipped in the bud. I mean, say what you want about that deal, but it was actually pretty damn good.
World system, and I just think one of them just has to be
Wait,
crushed. You know, the president said this week, somebody
what
asked him,
system?
he was not doing what they're told. They're not fitting into our world system.
What world system? Are, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't Iran and North Korea the last two countries that aren't a part of the whole like world banking system? I'm pretty sure in the early 2000s there was a bunch of countries like Syria and Libya, Iran, North Korea, and so on and so forth. But now it's down to Iran and North Korea are the only two countries in the entire world that aren't a part of this, this global money scheme.
And I just think one of them just has to be crushed. You know, the president said this week, somebody asked him, he was meeting with the Pakistani prime minister or president, their head of government, and he said, well, I could win Afghanistan very easily. I just don't want to kill 10 million people. And I think, we don't have to kill 10 million, but maybe we could just, drop a really big bomb. Maybe we could just do...
See, I have to feel like he's kidding with this. Because he is kind of laughing a lot and smiling a lot. So maybe I'm just being a little snowflake little bitch and getting my feelings hurt. That's entirely possible. But just one child, I would say it's worse for the child to survive a drone strike than to die, because they're injured, they're crying, their parents are usually dead, and there's no medical supplies due to the sanctions that were put on the country, and there's literally no help. Like, look, not to get off on too much of a tangent, but just look down in Yemen right now. Just type in the Yemeni crisis and watch any video. You will see what it looks like when a child gets hit by shrapnel, crying their eyeballs out. They're orphaned, and there's nothing they can do about it.
Something to show that we're serious, because, here we are, and I'll admit it's gotten better. I mean, we are in a...
Maybe Nick could divulge a little more information on what he means. What one of those epic surgical strikes that Trump talks about? Is that what you're talking about? Those epic May surgical strikes in Syria that destroyed a medicine facility that I think it was the second cruise missile strike he did on Syria. It just destroyed tons and tons and tons of medicine.
Sort of state of détente, basically. With North Korea, things have de-escalated a lot, but that we keep
Have
getting
they?
this kind of stuff.
Maybe with North Korea, but what about Iran? I honestly think we are the closest we've ever been to war with Iran.
Tests and nuclear tests and all these people trying our patience. Maybe it's time for the world to fear.
We've been trying their patience since the 70s, and even earlier with North Korea. We've been putting so many sanctions on them throughout all presidencies. Like, Bill Clinton had some of the worst sanctions on Iran. So it sounds like they're being a little patient with us, how we just keep poking them and prodding them and pushing them around, stuffing them in lockers, giving them swirlies, giving them wedgies. I think they're starting to get sick of it.
America in some sense. Look, And again, I wasn't in favor. I'm going to regret saying this
I hope
so
you do,
much.
man. I hope you do.
For the record, I disagreed with the Iraq War. I think it was a big mistake. We shouldn't have went in there.
Right.
Now, that said, after the war in Iraq, Libya shut down their nuclear program. Syria shut down their nuclear program. Iran shut.
Guess what? Once Iraq fell, it was just a domino effect. And look at the fall of Gaddafi in Libya single-handedly created the biggest ripple effect of sending migrants into Europe. So I don't know if you think that's a good thing, but they were basically the wall that was keeping the African hordes out of Europe. So, and I don't know what Libya having a nuclear program, how that was hurting the United States. I would like to hear Nick's rebuttal on that, but who cares? Look at Europe now. That's what you should be caring about. Not that they got rid of their nuclear program. Europe is a shithole now because of the fall of Libya.
Down their nuclear program. No, again, I'm not saying that made it worth it. I'm not saying it's a good thing that we went to war in Iraq. I'm saying cause and effect. Big show of force, people start cooperating. Drop
A show of force, we have the most aircraft carriers than anyone in the world. It's not even close. We spend the most on our military. It's not even close. I think the next 7 countries under us combined don't even sell or invest as much money as we do alone. That's a show of force. Trump saying, talking shit all day on Twitter and how he was like, oh, I could have easily killed all these Iranians, but it was an unmanned drone and I just didn't think it was worth it. The U.S. Navy is in a perpetual state of showing force. I don't know if you realize that or not.
a lot of bombs, kill a lot of people. People start cooperating. That's all I'm saying. So, sure, I understand. Yeah, America's spreading some bad things in the world, right?
Some bad things? Just some?
I mean, we're spreading usury and homosexuality and all this.
Exactly.
But, at the end of the day, Iran getting a nuclear weapons arsenal, not in our interest.
You mean Israel's interest? Surely that's what you meant. Because, again, the United States is basically a host at this point. Okay? We've been infected. We are completely mind controlled. We don't have interests as United States citizens. We have the interests of a foreign government. What interests are you talking about exactly?
North Korea having a nuclear arsenal, not in our interest. I mean, that's a threat to America ultimately.
A threat to America ultimately. How? Please, someone in the comments, call me crazy. Honestly, I would love to learn something. I might be missing something. How is it not in our interest? I beg someone to explain that to me.
They have to do what we say. They have to play by our rules.
So are you a believer in the Constitution, Nick? Do you believe in the law of the land? That's not a constitutional principle.
We have 10 aircraft carriers, and I think maybe we should start acting like it. Now, I'm not saying
we do. A perpetual state of aggression and show of force. Excuse me.
Invade North Korea. I'm not saying we invade any countries, 10-year occupations, but it's like there's got to be a point at which we say our patience has its limits. We've been messing around with these people for 2 years.
Actually, we've been messing around with them since the 50s. So, I would try to take a step back and update it because it's been going on for a lot longer than that.
to make a deal. We're going to bring investment. We're going to open your country up. We're going to turn the North Korean coastline into like Mar-a-Lago. We're going to build apartments here, and we're going to help you. And these
I
people,
cannot
every time
believe this shit is coming out of Nick's mouth. I'm baffled. I was taking my shower and I just like turned around up to where I had my phone. And I'm like, no fucking way, dude. Maybe I just don't know him all that well. I admittedly, I've only been listening to him not that long. Was I right all along? Do you hear this?
time we meet with them, they give us a hard time. They cut corners and all this, and it makes us look like a bunch of assholes. Because, people like myself, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this show have been saying for years, we just need to let them be. We just need to back off. We just need to scale back, bring the troops home, and then everything will just be fine.
We could put those troops down on the border,
we find
north
that we
and
have
south.
a president who is committed openly and has said we want to
committed to moving. Oh man. Committed to moving the embassy to Jerusalem? Yeah, he was very committed in that. Yes, you are absolutely correct.
We want to make good with Russia, and we want to end our occupation of South Korea and all this, and people are just not cooperating with us. It doesn't happen instantly. So, maybe they have to be bullied a little bit, and then we can achieve that result.
We've been bullying them for a very, very, very long time. Even before the Korean War.
There's just a little bit more brinksmanship, maybe some more missile strike groups, something like that.
Man,
we have to show that we're serious in some capacity, because otherwise this is not going to get
what
done.
A
this
Neocon
peace process. I was kind of skeptical from the beginning. I think if you go back and you watch the show 2 years ago, and about a year ago, in spring, so a little bit over a year ago, 2018, I said it's probably not likely that North Korea is going to completely denuclearize anytime soon.
And why should they?
There's a better relationship for us to have than war, right? Than impending war. Now, that said, we're really not making progress anytime soon.
I wonder
progress
why.
has not been made in the last 2 years, really.
I wonder why.
Again, some of these symbolic gestures.
A lot of progress has been made in all the money we give Israel. A lot of progress has been made on that. Just saying.
Things like that. And so maybe if we really wanted to get serious about forcing these people to bend to our will, we would have to do something. And I don't
bend to our will for what purpose exactly?
I don't think there's anything wrong inherently with violence or military action. The problem is when it's not in our interest, when it's disproportionate to the interest, So, I don't think the Iraq War was wrong because it was a war. I think it was wrong because
I remember him saying this the first time I heard it. This is actually a very good point. I don't think I've thought about it like this too often, but I think what he's about to say is a very good point.
Reason for us to go in there. Iraq was a fine counterbalance to Iran, and Saddam Hussein was a bad actor, but there were other ways to deal with that. Was bombing Iraq necessarily the worst thing in the world? Probably not. Were there other ways to go about it? Certainly. So again, I think we have to reorient this foreign policy kind of stuff. I know I'm going to take a lot of heat for that. I know a lot of people are going to be in my, it's Neocon Nick. Neocon Nick supports war and this and war and that.
Is that not what you're saying? Even it doesn't matter whether the war lasts a day or 20 years. That's an act of war. Vaporizing a city, killing the population of said country, that's an act of war. So let's update our definition on what war means. War, the definition of war isn't defined by the length of the engagement.
I'm not saying I support ground wars. I'm saying that I am not opposed to war, bombing, killing in itself. If we can use it to further our national security interest with minimal cost on our end, minimal bloodshed on our end.
I would say I would agree with that point, but I'm having a hard time remembering the last time we were in a just war that was actually defending constitutional principles. Maybe might have been the Revolutionary War. Maybe that was a little bit before the Constitution, but you know what I mean.
Our end, then I think it's actually fine. I think it's actually a tool and an extension of statecraft and politics. Vladimir Putin knows this. Xi Jinping knows this. Maybe we should start to adapt to that. So, like we saw the Styria strikes in 17 and 18, I think things like that have been very effective. Maybe we could try more of that. Maybe we try that in other countries. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I just want some action. Maybe I've just been driven.
Wow. Very effective at flooding Europe with migrants. In that sense, yes. Very, 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 very effective. Also very effective for the downfall of what is it? I forget what that city is in Minnesota. It's the name escapes me. Also very effective for the downfall of that city as well. I can't think of that. Oh my gosh, it's gonna annoy me. I'll look it up later.
To this
But
point.
here we get a little bit of truth right here. Back it up just a little bit.
We'll see. Maybe I just want some action. Maybe I've just been driven to this point by seeing just the day-to-day kind of
See, and I feel that's a completely, honestly, I feel like that's a completely normal feeling for a man his age. That's around the age when a lot of people start joining the military. But with that being said, it's completely misguided.
stuff. Maybe I just want to see burning in the world. Maybe there's something inside of me.
Maybe I do a little bit in a way, but not like you're saying.
After watching 2 years of Robert Mueller and anti-BDS laws and immigration failures, that I just want to see a building explode. I just want to see a bomb go off or something like that.
How about we make that change here in the United States? It says foreign and domestic, enemies, foreign and domestic. So maybe that change that you're talking about needs to take place here.
I don't know. Or maybe there are bad actors in the world, or there are legitimate adversaries as opposed to enemies or villains, but there are legitimate adversaries or rivals regionally and globally to American power, and we have to take a more serious approach to them, a more conventional or realistic approach to them. So I guess that's what I have to say about North Korea, but I don't want me to get raked over the coals.
He's repeated that so many times. He knows he's going to get shit on for this. So I guess I could applaud him for having the balls big enough to actually say it. It just, look, it's hard for me to believe anything at face value. I always feel like when you look at something, it's just the tip of the iceberg, right? There's just so much going on behind the scenes that you don't see. And this might sound incredibly insane, but I just feel he went to Washington, D.C., and shortly after he went on this nice vacation, and he comes back spewing this shit. Did somebody offer up e-girl virgin pussy or something for him in order to say these kinds of things? I'm just having such a hard time hearing this come from Nick. It's just so just rotten. What a rotten thing to say.
For that, but that's why this is a 250 IQ show, in order to parse out and nuance out all these
unfortunately I have a 70 IQ.
Gotta have a high IQ
on a good day.
I know there'll be a lot of babies saying you're a neocon for saying this, but I'm just telling you how
we need to vaporize a country or cities and make them bend to our will. Is that not a neocon thing to say?
I see these Norks, and they're doing the missile tests again, and it's like, why are you doing that? You shouldn't be doing that. We're trying to make a deal with
Because
you.
we're staging
The president wants to
invasions
make
in
a
their
deal.
backyard.
We are really trying to help you out here. We've promised to get rid of the sanctions if you just
Oh,
get
yeah.
rid of the nuclear program.
So good at keeping
And
our
it's not happening.
promises.
I understand why they want to keep their nuclear program, but they should just do what we say. You know, we've been nice enough.
That's crazy,
But,
bro.
that's our North Korea story. We're going to move on, and we'll take a
That's
look at our super chats.
crazy.
We'll see what you guys have to
I cannot. I don't even know what to say at this point. Is this on par for what has this always been Nick's position on these kinds of things? I don't know. Maybe he's just getting thirsty for change and he wants it so bad, even if it takes some shit getting blown up. But that's just such an unhealthy way of wanting change, is to think you need to just vaporize a nation. I don't know, man. So what do you guys think? I don't know how much longer I'd be able to listen to Nick say stuff like this. We'll see. Maybe it's just the heat of the moment. I don't know. But I guess we'll just have to play it by ear. And I think we're within moments of going to a full scale nuclear meltdown with Iran and North Korea. Maybe China gets involved. And I will be standing off on the sideline, seeing if Nick signs up for any of those conflicts. So I won't hold my breath. I do appreciate you guys hanging out with me for almost an hour. I wanted to make it short, especially I'm playing Videogamis over here. I'm playing Neo. It's a great game. Finally getting around to it. But I just felt so inclined. I just had to say something. Maybe get some feedback from people who's been a fan of him a lot longer than I have. And hopefully learn something. Because, again, if you have anything that I'm missing on any of the points that Nick made, please let me know. If not, I would just you could go on the government's treasury website. You could look at all the sanctions, the full history of sanctions on Iran, sanctions on North Korea, just to see the complete and utter bullying we've been doing them for God knows how long. So yeah, maybe there's a reason why they're not so complicit. But yeah, guys, that's it. Leave a comment. Let's figure this out. Let's all learn something new. So thank you very much for watching. I hope to be making another video soon. There's big developments in Yemen. You know, there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about, but you know, again, I'm a salary cook, so I got a family to feed. Hopefully I can make a video though soon. Thank you guys for watching.